Good morning, YouTube. This is right after the election. It seems like half the country is happy. Seems like the other half is not. I simply want to say, for those who are happy with how the vote turned out, I hope you get the policies that you were looking for, and those policies come about while still respecting people's rights and human dignity. As a political scientist degree holder, philosophy degree holder, I always find the exit polls interesting, and certainly this round was very interesting. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is product management and pivoting, specifically as a small business owner, pivoting my own product, pivoting my prices, what I have discovered and what I am considering, and why it is extremely important to be experimental and be willing to pivot with your business and your product. I'm Justin Gray, owner and operator of Neighborly Hauling and former tech worker. I've started my own business, and that's what this channel is about. Starting a business, product management, and how those skills that I have learned translate into starting and operating your own business. If this sounds remotely interesting to you, maybe click the like button, perhaps even consider subscribing. Okay, so behind me is my Cam Concepts trailer and bin. Now this is my second drop of the day, so this is the first time I've had multiple bins out, which is awesome. The first round though, the first things that I tried to use, and I think a lot of people who are looking at blue collar roles, you're going to get a standard kind of trailer, and that trailer is going to help you establish the business. Typically they're on the cheaper side in terms of capital investment, and that's where you start, and that's kind of where I started. However, I got an equipter, and the equipter was nice because it allowed me to drive the unit wherever I needed it to be. I got its little cousin as well, and the goal there was landscaping, deliveries, as well as potentially renting them out. But the trailer itself was not cheap. And in fact, what I ran into was I was spending more to have the trailer than what it was bringing in. I was also not able to really line up a lot of landscape deliveries. I was also not able to rent the unit out. And in talking to the people kind of around me that were renting units, what I found was a lot of the roofing companies that exist weren't exactly treating the product very well. So they would rent it and really dent and damage and not take care of the units. So that was my first one, and that's what I would consider an MVP. I had a trailer, I had its sister unit, I was able to cover two kinds of jobs, and I was theoretically able to start the business that way. Unfortunately, that did not work. So, first pivot. Sold the larger one. I still have the smaller one available for sale. Along comes my Cam Concepts trailer. Now, the annoying thing here is I ordered both of these at the same time. The Cam Concepts trailer was always going to be what I would use for dumpsters until I really got the business started. So it finally came, and that took 3.5-ish months for that order to finally go through. But it arrived, set up, yay. So on to the second pivot. What I noticed in talking to a lot of people was with bins my size, they really didn't need somebody who was going to leave it on site for a long period of time. In fact, a lot of people said, hey, can you just come and pick it up and I'll load it up? And I started looking into this concept, and it actually seemed pretty smart for what I am doing. So my first round of customers were simply that. They were people that wanted what I'm calling curbside service. They had material, they had it ready to go, and they were willing to load the dumpster, and I gave them a time period. I gave them 25 minutes. Really, it's 30 minutes is what I'm anticipating there. I did include some setup time and things like that, but really give the customer about 30 minutes to load the bin. That allows me to take it to the transfer station, and then boom, I'm off to the next stop. Well, that worked extremely well, and it wasn't even something that I was considering early on in the process. So here I had what I consider another pivot leading to, I think, really solid customer bases. And originally I was charging $100 for that plus weight, and I charged 5 cents for weight. What I noticed was that price, because people weren't really filling the bin and they certainly weren't putting in things that were too heavy, that price was the lowest junk removal price, sans labor, that was out there. So somebody that wanted junk removal, kind of the way that I was doing it, which I don't call junk removal, I call it curbside disposal, that person was getting a deal, a really good deal. And I kept hearing that feedback, oh, this is such a good deal. And I'm like, I don't necessarily want to be the best deal in town. I certainly want to have a fair price, but building a business, got to have profit, got to be able to take care of expenses at least. So that led to my third pivot, which I increased my prices for both a rental and my curbside service by $50. I also did a fourth pivot, and this was really due to my pricing strategy overall. See, Neighborly Hauling, we charge for what you use. So you only pay for what you use. If you don't want ground protection, for example, you don't choose it and we don't put it down. It's kind of as simple as that. If you want an early delivery, we charge for that. If you want a standard delivery, it's going to be sometime between 9 and 3. So all of these things led me to the thinking of, why am I bundling in a 2-day rental at a certain price when in reality what I want is for people to be able to pick what they really truly need. And since, again, I have a smaller bin, this is perfect for a weekend kind of a situation. Why discount? Why tell people, hey, you get $250 and it'll be there for 2 days and yada yada? Instead, I pivoted to, it's now $200 and it's only a 24-hour period. I've already had several customers who wanted exactly that. They weren't quite ready for curbside, but they wanted a bin for a short amount of time. So this is fitting in another niche really, really well. And again, going back to our pricing strategy, it allows people to basically pick and choose what they want. Now, what am I up to now? Like 4 pivots? The next pivot, I believe, is really probably going to be either winter pricing and how I'm going to do delivery to people's garage. And then if the business actually can take off, can get a good basis, at that point, looking into more bins and a different style truck. Because right now it's a Suburban, which can tow a lot, and a trailer. So moving into that sort of next phase of all of this, of we now have a hook lift truck. It is the appropriate GVW for the size of bins that I want. We have a variety of different size bins, and we can offer different bins for different prices, but you still choose and use basically what you need. So that's the entire thought process of this pivot. And this is why it's very important from a small business standpoint and from a product standpoint, where you need to listen to what your customers are saying. And sometimes what they think is positive feedback. Hey, you have the best prices in town. Hey, you are such a great deal. Starting a business, you don't necessarily want the best prices in town. You want to basically force some people out of your market because they're not going to be profitable for you. Same thing with product management in larger companies or in a startup environment, right? Where you need to listen to where that customer is saying and be willing to start adjusting things, not guardrail to guardrail. That's certainly not what you want to do, right? You don't want to have a gut check feeling and all of a sudden you're ping-ponging between one decision and another decision. That's guardrail to guardrail. Instead, what you're doing is you're taking feedback, looking at what could change, and looking at how that's actually going to work. So, hopefully this was helpful. Just some insights and some things that I've observed as we've started the business and started really getting it moving. Thank you for your time. I'm going back into East Grand Rapids here. I'm going to drop off this bin. Talk to you later.